Feast your eyes upon a night in which you will never forget Halloween Day. What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers, and thanks for coming back for some more popcorn. So we saw the end of David Gordon Green's vision of Michael Myers last night with Halloween Ends. So going into this, lots of hype and lots of expectations. You're dealing with a character that's huge. A lot of people feel that they have ownership over this character. So what did I think? I thought it was really good. It was different than I expected, but definitely really good. And I feel like the more that I'm thinking about it, the more that I'm having respect for it. Right off, let me just tell you, you haven't seen a Halloween movie like this before. It's still a Halloween movie, still feels like a Halloween movie, but what they did with this, you haven't seen before. Let me just clarify, this is gonna be a spoiler-free review. I have a spoiler discussion with my bro Andrew that we did last night immediately after the film, so you can check that out here on the channel. But I can tell you right off, this movie is gonna be polarizing with some people because this isn't a straightforward Michael Myers slasher movie. And what they did with Halloween Kills was kind of scratch that itch that everybody wanted, because we loved Halloween 2018, but it was this awesome reintroduction to Michael Myers, a great story, and it was grounded. But in Halloween Kills, like I said in my review for it, they kind of gave us like Michael Myers on acid. The kills were awesome. There was a ton of them. It was off the charts. And you saw Michael from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. And it was kind of like that in the 2018 Halloween. You saw him kind of from the beginning of the film all the way towards the end. You just didn't see him put on the mask until partway through the film. This movie, Halloween Ends, you actually don't even see Michael Myers until about halfway through the movie, because it takes place 4 years after the events of Halloween and Halloween Kills. But even from the intro of this movie, it's brutal and scary and it'll stay with you. It's good intro, but it's not like your typical Halloween movie intro. Don't get me wrong, you're having all the feels and everything, but what they're doing with this intro is setting up a story that you're gonna be following that takes place 4 years after Michael's return. And they follow this character named Corey. He's a main character of the film. In fact, the movie's really following Laurie, Allison, and Corey. So Allison and Laurie are living together now because if you saw Halloween Kills, you know that Karen, Laurie's daughter, Allison's mom, got killed. So it's just sort of like Laurie and Allison against the world. But Laurie's finally trying to move on. She's trying to have a normal life. She's not really focusing on being prepared for Michael coming back and all that. She's trying to open up herself to good. It's showing her and Sheriff Hawkins sort of flirting with each other left and right. He's retired at this point. We've gotten this sort of refresher course of the events of the original Halloween 1978, the 2018 Halloween, and Halloween Kills. And it's all happened over this sort of narration of Laurie because she's writing a book, her memoirs. But just like any part 3 to a concluding story, this one has sort of a slow build-up, but it's not boring at all. It's really just putting you in the space that these characters are in 4 years after those events. You're seeing how Allison's living her life. You're seeing how Laurie's living her life. And you're getting introduced to this guy named Corey. And it's not just shoehorned in there either. It fits its way into the storyline to where it works. And Corey is the transcending character into this sort of other storyline that still coincides with Michael Myers and the whole thing we've already seen. It's just new and refreshing. And what I liked about it is that it just wasn't another rinse and repeat Michael Myers movie. It wasn't just a, oh, here we go, another slasher, and let's just go even more overboard than we did in part 2. No, they made a respectable movie. It was mature, and it was a really interesting story that also was a Michael Myers and a Halloween story. But it definitely wraps up everything. It definitely adds to everything. And it also explains a lot of things that you might have had questions with, especially at the end of Halloween Kills. There's all sorts of homages in this movie, just like the other 2 films. I mean, Nick Castle makes an appearance, like as a character, not just with the mask on. And the other movies like tried to put things that were like visual cues that you could see, like, oh, look, those are the kids wearing the masks from Halloween 3. And this was actually taking a lot of filming techniques from the original movie and stuff like that. Don't Fear the Reaper is playing in the grocery store as sort of like this PBS version. Also later on in the movie, you hear it kind of in the background. Just all sorts of really tasteful homages to the other films rather than sort of in your face. I thought it was great. And like I said, it was a very original story. You haven't seen this yet with Michael Myers or a Halloween movie. And at first, I gotta be honest, I was wondering, I'm like, where are they going with this? Am I gonna dig this? And then by the end of it, I was like, damn, I see what they were doing and I really like it. But to quote Lee McCoy, just, have an open mind with this. Don't go in expecting like, oh, I just want to see another killer slasher film. This actually tells a story I think that's gonna last down the road, years down the road. And I think that's kind of what works about it and what makes it a really solid finale and a solid third film is that it's a really good story that's also about Michael Myers and Laurie and Allison. But it's not just focusing on Killer Michael. And just because it takes a little while for Michael to come into play doesn't mean the movie's not still brutal. Like I said, the opening scene, something happens that's, like I said, it'll stick with you forever. And then all these other things do occur that are brutal, and the movie is dark. So just because you're waiting for Michael a little while doesn't mean that you're not getting a horror film. But then when Michael comes into play, it's definitely awesome kills. At the end of the day though, whether you like the direction of the story and the guts of the story of what's going on, I think that everybody will be pleased with the finale and the outcome and how this movie truly ends. And it does wrap up what David Gordon Green started. It's the most feeling of finality that you've had with Michael yet. I'll just say that. So it's a little too soon for me to give my grading on this. I'm gonna give another review that's gonna be a spoiler review like this one. The other thing we did was a spoiler discussion. My next review I'm gonna do for Halloween Ends, I'm gonna do an actual long spoiler review. I'm gonna talk about all these specific scenes and I'll really break it down and be able to grade it then. But after first viewing, I loved it. I thought it was great and I was pleased and satisfied. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh